Hello there, everybody. Welcome back, and I'm here to be talking about Stranger Things Season 4. Now, before I get into this video, I just wanted to point out, I know that Volume 1, which was the first 7 episodes, came out late May, and the only ones that came out now was the final 2, but my thought process behind it is, it's very rare circumstances where I don't review the 4th season in its entirety, and seeing as how I did take a look at some other people's reviews about Volume 1, and it seemed to be a lot more negative than you would expect by a couple people, and a lot of their things was saying, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense, why does this happen, and all that type of stuff. And then, with that in mind, when I watched the final 2 episodes, a lot of stuff started to make sense and click with me, so that just reaffirmed my thought process on wait until the entire season's out before you critique it and judge it, because you don't know the full picture of what the season is telling. So that's why I waited until all were out and I watched it all, and I'm here to talk about it. And also, I do have to say I'm going to be doing spoilers because, like I said, the first 7 episodes have been out since late May, and these last 2 came out Friday, I believe July 1st. So I just want to give you all a heads up before you watch the video if you are not caught up to do that. So Season 4 takes place in 1986, and it's a new villain, of course, that comes back. Now, it's basically how the show, I've pretty much understand how the show is, because you load in, to the season, you get introduced or reintroduced to your characters that you know, and where they're at, and their stories and everything, and the villain or the enemy does something bad, attacks, someone gets hurt, killed, whatever, and then the characters go off in their groups and do their own storylines, and then by the final episode or final act, they all come together to fight the enemy and so forth. And here, it's really no different, and that's what this season really felt like for me, is it felt like there's cool editing choices, good music, and some really standout performances from the cast in this season, but it just felt, I don't want to say it was like bad, but it just felt recycled of stuff we've seen from this show before. I think it's kind of running out of steam on what it's doing, but I will say I do like this season, and there's lots of stuff I do like about it. And first off, I'll just go with the villain, because this season really does a fantastic job with the villain, who's Vecna, aka Henry, aka One. There's so much to talk about with this guy. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit brief. So you find out when watching the show, like, there's this creature from the Upside Down that is, killing teenagers in pretty horrific ways. Like, they show them stuff that's haunting them, they're in their turmoils and stuff. Like, there's the girl, the first one that happens to, Chrissy, where she, has trouble at home and stuff, and so it's showing her all that type of stuff. And then when it eventually gets time to kill her, like, her mind or whatever is in the Upside Down with him, but her body's present, but she's like in a trance. And then what he does is he lifts his victims, breaks all their bones, and then gouges their eyes out. It's the creepiest shit. I was flabbergasted when I first saw that scene, and like Eddie, I was like, what the hell? And of course, poor Eddie, who is really the MVP of the season. And what I mean by that is he's the character that gets introduced, everyone loves, adores him, and he gets killed by the end. And it's tragic, because last season we had Alexi. I was very sad. Before that we had Bob. Before that we had Barb. Like, every season has that character that you just, they're such a good person. They're really nice, they're great, and they are a good addition to the show. And then the creators just killed them off, and it's heartbreaking. And a lot of people were expecting it, and that became like a kind of a gag, how people were expecting him to be the one that gets killed off, because they were hyping up that people were gonna die and shit's gonna happen. And the only characters that really die are him. You have this kind of side antagonist, Jason, who was the boyfriend of Chrissy, the first victim. So he goes off on his own vendetta he basically rounds up the town into hating Eddie, because he thinks that Eddie and his Hellfire Club, which is a D&D group that plays, board games and stuff. He thinks that they're running a cult that's causing these deaths. And so that plot thread, I thought, was really stupid, right? But I was kind of getting into it. I'm like, okay, I could see. It was for what it was entertaining. Now, a lot of characters, unfortunately, get really sidelined because this is one of the main critiques that people, and I have to jump in because I love these characters, but it's starting to get oversaturated where there's so many characters and no one either leaves or gets killed off, and they're finding a really hard time to balance all the characters, even with the long run times. My gosh, like some of the episodes are over 2 hours, but you literally, I remember episode 7, I believe, the California group, which was Jonathan Argyle, I believe his name is, who's a new character introduced, Mike and Will. They aren't even in the entire episode, over an hour and something episode. The creators just were like, well, we have nothing to really do with them, so we're just not going to put them in the episode, which blows me away because 3 of those characters were from like the original season. They're like big characters, and they just kind of got sidelined really bad, especially like basically the California group. Like they're off on their own, and they're trying to find where 11 is. So their main plot has nothing to do with what's going on in Hawkins with the villain and everything, because like the Hawkins group, obviously Hawkins is the core to the series, and this creature is gonna just start from destroying Hawkins and then eventually wants to destroy the world and everything and create it his own. It's some really godly type shit, right? And you have the California group that are just kind of there, and then like, we need to find 11 because she kind of gets off on her own and goes back to the scientists and all. Like Dr. Brenner shows up again, Dr. Owens, and she really dives into her past. Like the stuff with 11 is phenomenal because it really makes more sense with stuff from earlier seasons, because you learn more about her past and about who that older guy was who turned out to be the original number. Like she's 11, so there was 11 test subjects. You find out what happens to all of them and why it was just her. You find out more about who the main overall villain of the story is. You find out that one was the real bad guy who, when he first, after their first battle, he got sent to the Upside Down originally, and he put into motion all of these events, these creatures and everything. And he is really similar, as you saw when he was younger from the 50s, to Will. So if they tie it into Will being the central figure in the season 5, because since season 2, Will just kind of got sidelined, sadly, but he's really similar to that villain. So I think he's going to play a key part into what happens in the final season, which I believe season 5 is confirmed to be the final season. So with all that, I forgot you have the Russian group with, what happened to Hopper, because he ended up surviving at the end of season 3, and he was kidnapped by the Russians, so he's a POW, and he basically gets a letter out to Joyce and Murray, who tag along with her, to go to Russia to save Hopper. And there's a whole bunch of shenanigans there. Hopper and the Russian soldier that was helping him, they both get into some deep trouble, and they have to fight a Demogorgon because the Russians captured their Demogorgon and they're making more species of them. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. This is what happens, right? And they're making more Demogorgons to kind of create like a soldier type in like the Cold War or something. It gets really bonkers. I'm not gonna lie to you. So let's get back to the Hawkins plot. I was just going over, as you could tell, the California plot kind of dull, and it kind of picks up near the end, obviously, when stuff goes down. But there's just so many episodes where I didn't really care about that, sadly. And the Russian, plot was all right and okay, but my central focus, what I really cared about, and I think what a lot of people agree they care about the most, is the Hawkins storyline with all those characters. Now, a lot of characters who weren't like the central figures really shine here. Like, for example, this last season you could say was Billy's season, and this season was Max's season, because my God, she had some of the best moments in this whole show for me. Like the Dear Billy episode alone might be one of the best episodes of the whole show. It's a phenomenal episode that goes into inner turmoil emotional trauma, tragedy, and just the whole episode is phenomenal. It's great, and a lot of story developments happen in that episode. And the final episode has some of the best acting from Sadie Sink, Max, Caleb McLaughlin, who's Lucas. That between them was great. The character, the guy who plays Eddie, it was tragic, and a lot of us predicted it, but it was really sad that they actually went through with it, and he died. And the season, the heroes really lost because Max ended up dying for a few, and she's still in a coma. Like, she's not really there. She's just out of it. You have Hawkins literally ripped open from the inside. Like, the Upside Down blended in with Hawkins. It's insane. And the heroes, stare off into the distance and to see what the final fight will be. So it really sets up this epic type of battle that season 5 will be. And it felt like a season that answered a lot of questions, but keeps you really enticed to see what the final season brings, because this is basically the pre-ultimate to the finale of the show. And there were some negatives and pros and all that stuff, but I just thought, in conclusion to my ramblings, the Hawkins storyline is where it centers on the most. All the characters were really good. They had their own moments. Of course, King Steve, my favorite character, lives to see another season. I'm so happy. And I will say, though, his plot thread with Nancy was kind of annoying, because that poor dude just can't get over her. And it's like recycled. Like some of these plot threads for these characters are kind of recycled. Like, why do they keep doing that? They already established. We've been through, like, season 1, she was... I don't even want to get into it. It's just so stupid. But I still love the characters, right? But some of the plot threads, it's like they're running out. So I'm kind of glad the show's ending before it gets, in the Riverdale territory where it's just really stupid. But again, not to really bash on the show as much, because I love this show. It's one of my favorite shows. But yeah, the Hawkins stuff, the best. The Russian stuff, second. California stuff, I'm sorry, that's last. And I just really hope season 5 is an improvement, because this might be my least favorite season, but I still thought it was a really solid season with phenomenal performances, great visuals, really great plot developments, and storytelling threads. And I just really am looking forward to see what happens next. So with all that said, those are my thoughts on season 4 of Stranger Things. Again, very mixed bag. I do like it overall. I thought it was pretty good, but a lot of stuff about it just had me questioning and thinking about, it just wasn't engaging me as much as the past 3 seasons. But anyways, maybe I'm in the minority here and a lot of you guys agree, but maybe not. So I do want to know what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comment section. And if you want to hit the subscribe button and bell as well to get notified on when I upload, that would mean so much to me. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!